Well, the government have published the Haddington Road Agreement, which is the replacement for Croke Park 2. And it's interesting that the government were very clear during the Croke Park 2 discussions and negotiations that Croke Park 2 was the only deal on the table and a better deal could not be achieved. The workers themselves, the vast majority of public sector workers, rejected Croke Park 2. And the government were forced to renegotiate that deal, and it would seem that some positive changes have been made. We will obviously need the time to digest the full import of the what's in the report itself and the impact it will have on low to middle income public sector workers. Our position in relation to this has been very clear and very consistent. We are not supportive of pay cuts for low and middle income workers in either the public or the private sector. We are not in support of rowing back on gains which have been made by working people either in the public or private sector over the last number of years, and any measures which will reduce the take-home pay of workers, which will increase working time, which will reduce overtime rates, will be resisted by Sinn Féin. It's also a disgrace that the government at the same time has published the Financial Emergency Measures Bill, which is essentially a threatening bill. And what the government is doing and what the Minister for Public Expenditure is doing here is continuing on with the bully boy tactics, while at the same time the trade unions are trying to digest the full import of what is in the Haddington Road Agreement. The government in a very forceful way has published the legislative alternative and the pay cuts which they say they will impose if this agreement is not accepted by the workers. So again, it's strong arm tactics by the government, strong arm tactics by the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, Brendan Howlin. He has not learned these lessons, and it does nothing or adds nothing to the process that we are all in at the moment. So for us, any gains which have been made as a consequence of a renegotiation of this deal have been made because the workers themselves said no to the first arrangement, and they can feel vindicated that they have got some positive changes. But we of course will look at this in the round and look at the overall effect that this will have on workers, and the benchmark for us will be whether or not this is good for low and middle income public sector workers. And we've also made the point that the money can be saved elsewhere by tackling high pay in the public sector, which we would support, by dealing with achieving savings in public spending, for example by not subsidising private health or private education, and by making savings in relation to branded drugs. So the whole range of measures where the government could have saved money without going after the pay and the pensions and the hard-fought gains and entitlements that have been made by workers over the last number of years.